Hello, and welcome back to another episode of City Focus. I'm your host, Kevin Bargender, and my co-host, Carla Lenk from SCORE. And we have our special guest here today, Andy Barnett, the director of the McMillan Library. Good afternoon to both of you.
Thank you.
And
Glad to be here.
and we're here today to talk about the McMillan Library. That's our focus today. And Andy, can you kind of give us some background that you have with the McMillan Library?
I've been with the library since 1993, which is a long time. I was assistant director for many years. I've been director for the last 6 years. So seen a whole bunch of changes, and I've seen a whole bunch of things that didn't change until this year. And we're doing a whole bunch of changes this year, which is one of our things we're going to talk about.
With the COVID, Andy, I know that for a while everything was stopped within the county, basically. I noticed that trying to get books and things like that, eventually it basically closed, period. You could call in and
Pick
order
them up,
books.
curbside service.
And then they would bring you out. You'd phone in and say, I'm so-and-so, and they'd bring them out just like they would be on reserve for people.
Yep.
How many people are still thinking that you are closed?
Well, far too many. We've reopened. We still do curbside service if you want to come and just pick up a book, but the books holds are on the shelf anyway, so you could just walk in, get the books, and walk right back out. We are no longer requiring masks for people who are vaccinated, and we're not trying to determine if people are vaccinated because that's not really something we want to do. If our staff isn't vaccinated, they are wearing masks, or if they have another reason to wear a mask. But in general, the library's open. All our books are available. They understand now that merely touching a book that someone else touched isn't a big danger. It's not risky behavior, and so we'd like people to come back in and check out lots of books. We've got summer reading program going on right now. There's a program for kids, there's a program for teens, there's a program for adults. And if you're an adult and you're reading, sign up and win some prizes.
Yeah, and I think there was a Blue Monday group that's meeting as well.
Coming next Thursday, the 17th, the Blue Monday Band will be doing an outdoor concert. We've never done an outdoor concert at the library because we have a theater, but we're not comfortable doing it indoors, so we're doing an outdoor concert. Plus the theater's under renovation right now, so we're doing an outdoor concert. We'll be looking at maybe doing some outside movies later in the summer, and we're working on getting that up. So Blue Monday coming up on the 17th, free outdoor concert.
In the parking lot?
In the parking lot.
Okay.
So probably bring your own chair.
Oh, okay. So the parking lot will have no one parking there. They'll
Yep.
be on the street,
Yep.
but you can bring a chair.
Yep.
Okay. That's good to know. Otherwise, I'd be sitting there saying.
Can't sit in your car and watch the
Yeah.
concert.
Yeah.
And speaking of construction, I know you wanted to touch on that today. Can you kind of take us through the timeline of where we were and where we are now and kind of where we will be in the future?
Yeah, I'd like to do a bit on that. When about 3 years ago, we were looking at the library and we needed new carpeting in our main adult room, the big room upstairs, and the skylight needed repair. And that would mean we'd have to move all the materials, like 20 tons of books, out of the space, and all that shelving and all that furniture, and then put it all right back. And we thought, well, that's an absolute waste, because if you are going to move everything out of your living room, you decide where to put it back when you do that. We also knew that there was a lot of underutilized space upstairs. We used to have a card catalog. We used to have a reference collection. When we opened the lower level, we moved some of the materials down there. So we had 2,000 or 3,000 square feet that weren't well used up there. And so we started looking at it and saying, what should we have there that we don't have? We looked first at how the space was being used by people who walked in the door. And people were coming in and trying to take online classes. We didn't support that. They were coming in to do remote work for business or school. we didn't support that very well. There were a whole bunch of those kinds of uses that we weren't supporting well because that part of the room, that part of the library hasn't been changed since 1970. We also looked at things like what Encourage looked at. They did a fairly deep, a really deep study on what the community needs were. They talked to a lot of people, and we piggybacked on that. We looked at what Midstate was doing. We looked at what the chamber wanted. We looked at what the public schools were doing. We said, okay, we're not those groups, but what parts of that can be done effectively at the library within our mission? We also did our own process and invited in community leaders to talk about how they use the library, how they saw the library being used, and that was fruitful too. We also went to other libraries, and we looked at libraries in the Twin Cities. We looked at libraries in suburban Chicago. We looked at libraries Dane County, Milwaukee area, and said, what are the best libraries in the state doing? Because there's no use building a space for the 1990s. We wanted to build a space for 2020s. What are people doing? What kind of needs can we serve going forward? We were very fortunate that we've done some other work. We opened up the commons area downstairs. We rebuilt our children's services space. We put on a solar roof. We redid all our restrooms. We had a lot of stuff out of the way, but we did have this great big adult space upstairs, which is almost 11,000 square feet. And just translate that into like number of houses. It's big enough that the Nakusa Library could be dropped inside it, including their parking spaces. It's a great big space. As we looked at it, the board decided to add the theater into the renovation rather than doing a big renovation and then still have the theater to do. And the all-purpose room fit in the budget, so we're doing that too. The best thing about this is we're able to add a whole bunch of functionality to the space. We're able to do things that aren't available elsewhere in the community, that we saw people needing, and that we have the ability to support. One of those is a business enterprise center, and we've talked about that. A place where if you wanted to come in, we have high-speed internet, we've got copy machine, a fax machine, scanners, color printers, all the software you could ever use. We have the full Adobe Creative Cloud, things that you can't afford to have in your home. If you're a small business, you can come in and we will have all those things, plus staff to help you use them, plus classes on how to use the software.
Is that going to be before you had the copier and some of those services out in the main area, just as you come in the door to the right? When
Yep.
you come in off of the where the desks are for services. Are you going to have it there, or are you going to have it in more towards the side where it would be business and business volumes?
The copiers and the scanners and things are going to be pretty much where they were in that. That's just a straight public use. If we're talking about the high-end software like Photoshop and Premiere and poster printers, things like that, those will be in the maker space. So that's a little different piece of it, and that's the more expensive equipment is being kept in a place where we can support it better. But the more general stuff is still going to be, there's a photocopier just as you walk in the door on the lower level. So you don't need to come upstairs for that.
I'm very interested in, you had mentioned previously that you might have some small spaces closed off for meetings, like 2-3 people.
Yes.
Or study, somebody's doing research and they really need to be involved with just being by themselves and working through material. That could reserve a room. I'm very interested in that because I use your library as meeting with clients that want to start a business. And people who are entrepreneurial, how can I say that? Entrepreneurial thrusting towards opening a business. They want to be very, and it's not confidential. because you can't speak in sign language to them, and sometimes they don't get it and I have to repeat it over, and then they're writing stuff down, hopefully, and it's difficult to remain confidential. And because I work with the Small Business Administration, SCORE is part of the Small Business Administration, like the Small Business Development Center at UW-Stevens Point is. We need to be confidential. Everything is confidential. You don't talk about your clients. You don't talk about what they're trying to do.
That is exactly one of those unmet needs that we saw.
Yeah.
We saw that, and we would see that. We'd also see people who wanted to take an online class. Well, you can't do that in the middle of a room.
No.
You want to have a Zoom meeting. You can't do that in the middle of a room. So the project includes 3 small rooms that are for 1 or 2 people where you could just sit and talk, mm-hmm. 2 larger rooms for 3 to 5 people where a small group could gather and work on a project together. So that's part of one of the things we saw we needed to support was co-working, which is a term you're familiar with. Mm-hmm. The idea that in a larger city like Appleton, Green Bay, Madison, Milwaukee, you can rent basically an office and almost by the hour. You pay a fee and you can go in and there'll be a desk and there'll be a copier and you're all set, you can work. We're looking at 5 of those kinds of spaces where people can come in. We don't want people squatting there. We don't want their business run out of there. We want it available to the community, but we want them available for people to come in and do those things because we need that as a community, and it's a service we can provide, and it fits exactly in with what we're doing in terms of training and education, because it's not just you as a confidential thing. Someone may need to do telemedicine and not be able to do that from home. Mm-hmm. Well, you definitely want your own little space for that.
Right.
All kinds of things are like.
Is it soundproof then too?
They're not.
Not like you would have a
not
studio.
Like a recording studio, but they are separate spaces where you can be private and people. It's nobody else's business what you're doing. Okay. So that co-working piece is something we definitely want. The training piece is something we want. We offer online classes at the library, but we also want our community partners like Midstate. We want to work with the schools. We want to work with UWSP. We want to work with the Extension, SCORE, small business. You need a space to do that in. So we're looking at spaces where we can do that in. One of the things we're adding is a new training room that would seat between 12 and 15 probably.
Like a small class space.
Yes, very much a classroom size building. The
advantage you have over the chamber, who has that small conference area downstairs, is that you have an elevator for those that have disabilities of some kind who cannot take the steps.
Yes.
And that has always been a problem with people going down to council, and I could use that for free, but then I don't know, sometimes you never met these people and then they can't get down the steps. So then what do you do?
Yeah, the handicapped accessibility is a big piece for us in that our building is 50 years old and Americans with Disabilities Act is 44 years old, I think.
No, well, it's not quite, but it's getting there. Yeah, I think it was 1992, 93.
Okay, we definitely predate it. So, like our theater, we're renovating the theater entirely, new seating, but more importantly for me, slots for wheelchairs and a companion seat with it. We don't have that now. A ramp onto the stage so that people who are going onto the stage or using a walker or a ramp or just stairs are a problem for them. We're taking that out of play for them. We're going to put a hearing loop in for the main part of the seating so that people can see a movie and use the hearing loop and not have their hearing aid be an issue for them. So that whole ability to address accessibility, a real important part of the project. The board was very interested in that, and I am too. I think just upgrading our program space there is an important piece of the project.
Are you doing anything with the proscenium and the stage itself?
We're going to improve the cabling, the electricity, the lighting, the flooring. The floor needs work, new carpet, new everything. It's just getting a lot of those things just really haven't been touched in 50 years. And
I can't remember when that theater came into being. It was here when we came in 75, and it was exactly as it was before this renovation. So it's got to be 50, 60 years old.
Yeah, the building opened in 1970, and it's had only minor changes since then in the areas that we're finally addressing now. But I think going back to the business and training part, one of the most exciting pieces is the makerspace training area that we're putting in upstairs, because that will have several things that we really wanted to have in the library that we had piloted, but now we're really going to be able to support them. One is a computer area with that Adobe Acrobat, Adobe Photoshop, all the high-end software that sometimes high school students learn how to use it, or college students learn how to use it, and then you get out of school and you can't afford it because it's $300 or whatever it is a year.
Yeah, it's quite expensive, but basically, if you're in business, you need it.
And sometimes you only need it for an hour or two a month, but we'll be able to provide that there. Those computers will also be running the computer-assisted design software that runs our 3D printer, that runs our laser cutter, that runs our wood carver, and anything that we buy in the future that's into computer-assisted design. And what manufacturing isn't computer-assisted these days?
All right,
It's
so
just
you're dealing with CAD programs?
Yes, and the CAD programs that you can run on our computers, you can take those files to high-level people and, build. You've got your prototypes. You can prototype it in our facility and then turn around and produce it somewhere else if you go through that whole process. But it's also just kids playing with it and saying, this is something I want to do. And that kind of creativity stuff can be sewing, it could be circuits, it could be robotics, it could be animation, it could be computer-assisted design. We want our kids in the community to have an access where they can look at that and go, this is really great, I want to do this. Or look at it and go, this is really great, I'd like someone else to do it. I really enjoy watching animation. Doing it yourself is a lot of work, and I don't want to do that. Let me write the script instead, or let me do the fashion design instead, or something like that. But we want to take those limits off and let people explore those careers, get their hands actually dirty on some of these things, and you turn it around, and people who are not kids need new skills, and they need new skills just to keep their jobs. You get into a job and they go, oh, by the way, you're going to be editing video in this job, and you've never edited video in your life.
Are you going to also support people who are experts in those different fields?
Coming in and doing classes.
And doing classes. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Because we are not experts on those things.
Neither am I.
We're experts in providing the space and doing the organization and setting things up. And, there are things I can speak as an expert on, but not most of these things. I could not train anyone in Excel or those kinds of programs.
Yeah, that's about where I am. I can use it myself, but I'm not going to be able to know all the ins and outs and tricks with Excel. So I would want somebody else that would be able to do that.
Yes. Well, partly we're offering online classes in Excel, and Excel is our most popular online class. We have dozens of people who have signed up for Excel classes, and you take those online at your speed and convenience.
And you just link them you could do it at home, really?
You can do it from home, you can do it in our facility. You don't get a grade, you don't get a certificate, you can stop anytime you want. That's what we can do that Midstate would want to give you a grade, because that's what they do for a living. And, Lincoln High School, they've got a class. This is at your convenience, at your speed, wherever you want, whenever you want, kind of thing, which is our niche. It's the things we do as libraries.
Okay, this is a good segue into asking when your hours are.
Right now, our hours are 9 to 6, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 on Saturday. So we're open 6 days a week, always opening at 9, closing at 5 on Saturday. That way we don't have to have quite as much staff on Saturday as we do on the other days. So yeah, that's nice. We did have to cut Saturdays when we were COVID struck. We had trouble with staff. So many staff. It's not so much, they weren't getting sick at work, but they were catching community spread, and they were ended up quarantined and things like that. And that was no fun at all. So we're happy to be in a more vaccinated future now.
Definitely.
Do you want to keep talking about different things? What are some things for the construction that you're kind of excited about personally, or is it kind of everything?
There's so much there, and one of them is just everything will meet code, because so much of the library met 1970s code, and as it turns out, 2021 code is such an improvement that just bringing things up to code in the library really will change a lot of things for people. I'm really looking forward to the 3 small rooms and 2 group rooms, the new training room. The skylight is being totally revamped, all new lighting. It's going to be just gorgeous when they're done. It needed repairs, but we're going far beyond repairs to really revamping that area. New furniture. Some of that furniture in the room was from 1970. And we're getting nice new furniture and new chairs and things that look nice. The thing that I like best about this is it's 95% privately funded, which is an amazing thing for us to be able to accomplish. The city is funding $109,000, which is certainly not an inconsiderable sum. It's a lot of money, but we got a $1 million matching grant from Legacy for this project for half the cost. The endowment is stepping in and has pledged $400,000. Bell Family Charitable Trust has come in for $100,000, and we've also got we fundraised another $200,000 in smaller donations. We continue to fundraise, but we're not done fundraising, but we knew we had enough money to go ahead and get this done. Costs aren't coming down, and we wanted to get this done and then reopen at some point, because right now, even though the library's open, half of it's closed because the adult room's all walled off and the theater's all walled off. And we want to get those spaces up and running, back in business, and we're really looking forward to that.
Do you have a timeline, Andy?
They're like 90% done with the demolition. There's just a few things left to carry out. They're already building back. They've got a lot of the training rooms and the small meeting rooms. They've got them framed up already. They don't have any drywall on the frames, but the frames are there. So we think that November we'll start moving back into the space, and we hope before Christmas that we'll have a party, because we always have a party when we open our spaces back up, and we'll want to have some concerts. We'll want to have the Cowboys back, have them playing in the space again. We'll want to restore having movies in the theater, all those things that we can't do right now. We'll want to reopen the coffee house. We just right now, because half the library is holding all our books, there's almost no place to sit, and there's almost no tables. The materials.
I've been in there. It's quite a bit.
It's like the library I don't want to work in, because all it is books and stacks, and it seems quite
and the
crowded.
noise.
And And so we'd be interested in going back to the library we like to work in, which has lots of room and place to spread out, sit down, have a cup of coffee, meet some friends, get some business done maybe. That's the kind of library we hope to have back again.
Yeah, and speaking of the Cowboy Union Jam, I know some of our viewers definitely watch that. We usually play that on Saturdays. I know that's a huge thing for a lot of people, and they've been asking like, hey, when is it coming back? And I was like, well, it's kind of up to the construction schedule, so it's kind of nice to know that it will be, looks like it will be coming back.
They're eager to come back. We're eager to have them back. The space will be better than ever. And I have some pictures and floor plans that you'll be able to put up on the screen. We'll start with one that shows the upper level. You can see where the stairs are on that map. As you turn and come into the adult room, the makerspace is labeled there, the skylight, the redesigned skylight, and over on the far corner are the 3 new meeting room areas and a quiet work area in the far corner. If we look in detail at the makerspace has a computer area, some places for tables where we'll be doing, where they're working on robotics, or they're working on circuits, or they're making magnetic slime, or whatever it is we're doing that week. And there's also a recording studio. And
Wow.
Rapids is such a great city for music. We really wanted a recording studio. So many people are doing podcasts. People are the kids know how to do these things, but they don't have a space. And an actual dedicated recording studio where you can lay down tracks and then layer them and do effects and do loops. That's the kind of thing we want to have in that space.
I always think that I need to rent a 14-year-old so I can figure out what to do with some of this stuff.
I have a couple of those in town that I could. I'm not sure Josh knows how to do any of that.
Talk to you afterwards.
There's a floor plan of the meeting rooms. There's you can see 2 of them are fairly big, and those are group work rooms. 3 of them are small, and they're meant for 1 or 2 people. And then a meeting room where the big glass windows are in the adult room, and it'll have big glass doors. So when it's not being used as a meeting room, we'll just open it up and people can hang out there with all that beautiful sun coming in the windows.
Because that's going to be as you come into that area from the
upper lobby.
It'll be straight back.
All the way back towards the parking lot. And
where are you going to put the books?
There's a number of things that we set as non-negotiables. We don't have any new staff. So we can't have more spaces for staff because we don't have new staff. We're not going to interfere with the original footprint of the building. That would get expensive. And we aren't going to have less space for books. There was that much space in that room that we can still have the same space for books that we always had. We're just arranging them differently and using up our open spaces for other things. There's also a floor plan of what we think the theater will look like. We don't have the final seating layout there, but a ramp to the stage, wheelchair slots, a hearing loop. We're building a wall to put the screen on rather than having the screen go up and down. Mm-hmm. Be more like a movie theater. The screen will be basically painted on the wall. And we come out with 250 seats, which is actually more permanent seats than we have now, but fewer seats when you count all the ones we threw in the back. But having wheelchair seats and a ramp to the stage, this will be really nice. And the cushions will be a lot softer because they won't be 50 years old. Yeah, that matters some.
Let's talk about your ceiling, your roof, I should say.
Oh, yeah.
You got to talk about that. My goodness, that is fantastic.
In 2017, we put on a solar roof. If you come into the library at our service checkout desk downstairs, there's a solar panel on the wall. We have 470 of those solar panels on our roof. 13,000 square feet of solar panels on our roof. It's At this point, we don't know where the nearest biggest one is, but of course, soon we'll be out in Saratoga where they're putting up truly a commercial size one.
Okay.
But we produce, today's a sunny day. It's in the 80s. Our air conditioner is running. We're off the grid. We're producing all the power we use and selling some back to Water and Light.
Wow,
So
that's wonderful.
we
Andy.
produce enough electricity. Well, we're going to wait and see how much energy we save in this construction, because we're replacing a lot of lights with more efficient lights. But in the course of a year, we use about 250 to 300,000 kilowatt hours. We produce about 200,000 kilowatt hours. So we're not quite off the grid, but we're producing a lot of our own power, especially during the summer. We are disconnected and actually selling electricity back to Water and Light. We're a little power plant right in town, producing green power that ends up being used locally. So
It'd be nice if the Mead would do something like that with their roof that's flat. It could do that.
they have it's a relatively small roof over there. But yeah, there are flat roofs, and the library board wanted to show what could be done with big flat roofs like ours. Unfortunately, it's a big flat roof that's up high and no one can see it. So unless you look on Google Maps, you don't know that it's just covered with solar
this
panels.
facility that's owned by the city is flat, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, fairly flat. Now, I know, actually, I think it was about a year or so ago, we went over and we took the city drone. We flew up there to take some pictures and video of the solar panels. And yeah, you definitely can't see that from the ground. So
No.
it is kind of nice to, get a nice view of it with a camera that can get up there and look at it. And it is really amazing, something that you wouldn't be able to see from the ground, but with our capabilities we have here, we can kind of show that to the public.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really kind of amazing when you do see it in person.
An important piece of that is you need to replace your roof first, because if your roof if you have a 20-year-old roof and you put solar panels on, in 5 years you're going to take them off.
Yeah.
So you need to put on a new roof, then you need to put on solar panels.
Now, are they flat on the roof, or
they're kind of teepee
like,
shaped.
okay?
The building
so you
doesn't.
get east, west, sun, south,
Yeah, and we're on Grand Avenue, which doesn't run east-west. It runs.
north and south.
It runs at an angle because it runs perpendicular to the river.
Okay.
And then as you cross over Lincoln, then the streets go east-west. But we're on the part of the library doesn't face east-west. It's almost at a 45-degree angle.
Okay.
And I guess getting back to more of the activities too for this summer, what are some things that I think people should look for, not just this month, but maybe towards closer to the end of summer, the middle of summer?
Well, look for us at the farmers market, because we're at the farmers market. Get your kids in for summer reading. It's been a tough year for kids. A lot of them, it was very easy to fall behind in school this year. It was very easy not to get all your assignments in. It was very easy to, just not work hard on some of these things. It was a bad year for that. And I don't blame kids on that at all. But the summer is an opportunity for them to read, to enjoy reading, to keep their skills up, to do new things. Every week we'll have something new for them to do, and much better for them to get out and start doing things and reading. And if you can read, you can learn anything. If you fall behind in reading, you fall behind in all your classes.
Absolutely. And so yeah, I think it's really important for the community to kind of embrace the McMillan Library. There's so many resources there, especially once this construction is done. I think, do you think there'll be more people coming to it then?
We were, before COVID, we were drawing about 250,000 visitors a year.
Wow.
I was one of them.
Yeah, probably 10 times, 10 or 20 times. And we look forward to going back to people coming in for movies and just seeing their friends and talking, and at the end of the movie going, wow, is that true? Did that happen? And then wanting to learn more. or just enjoying a story.
I have a funny story about that. Who was the director before you? I forgot.
Ron McCabe.
Mr. McCabe, the director, was the host of these movies during the evening for adults. And he had one, it was Budapest something.
Oh, Grand Hotel Budapest.
Budapest.
Wes Anderson film.
And I had seen it before, but a friend of mine said, "Oh, it's free, let's go and see it." So he opened the whole thing and says, "I have no idea what this movie is. It's just, it doesn't make any sense to me at all." So we ran through the whole thing, and my friend was going, "What is this?" And I said, "I don't know. This is the second time I've seen it. It doesn't make any sense." And as it all finished, he says, "Thank you for coming, and if anybody knows what it's about, give me a call."
Yeah, I mean,
it's a crazy
some
movie.
of them, we show some crazy movies. We could show real ordinary movies, but it's nice to show a foreign film. It's nice to show a documentary. It's nice to show something that an indie movie that played nowhere around here, because that way we're adding something to the artistic life of the community. And if we just took what was at the regular theater and showed it 6 months later, that wouldn't be we wouldn't add much.
Right.
But being able to come in and show a movie on an important subject that doesn't play locally, then we know we've added something. We track what's showing at the theater and go, okay, everyone's probably seen that. What else?
Yeah.
What else do we need to do?
Well, this
to add into
one
it?
won an Academy Award for something.
Oh yeah, Wes Anderson movies are
And
very highly
we
thought
didn't
of.
hear
They're not
about
my
it.
style, but doesn't have to be my style.
Is there anything else that you would kind of like to talk about with the library?
No. Welcome back. I'm sorry we don't have the coffee shop open because this is slushy weather, and we wish we could be serving iced coffee. And
is that going to be coming up in the future?
once we have tables and chairs again, yeah, well, all that'll be coming back in the as we get
Great.
as we reopen the other spaces. But right now, we could serve it, but there wouldn't be any place for anyone to eat or drink anything. So we're waiting for that, and when that comes back, yeah, we'll have the coffee shop open again.
Awesome. And can you kind of tell us some places that people can go if they have more questions or they want to access more resources with the library?
McMillanLibrary.org. We keep it real simple. There's a link there to all the information about the Learning Futures project that's underway. It's got the floor plans, it's got some movies, it's got images of what things will look like. And I don't know if you'll include some of those images at the end of this to show just some of those rooms, because we've got artist renderings of those. But if not, they're on that website. Access to our free online classes, Gale courses, is there. Right now we're offering Ancestry free at home through the library through the end of the year, at which point Ancestry will lock their vault back up and you'll have to come in and use the library. All the things that we offer are on that website, and all our programs are listed there, and you can sign up for summer reading there and win prizes. So McMillanLibrary.org.
Is there a number they can also call if they want to get in contact with somebody at the library?
Sure. Our main phone is 715-422-5136. And that's up on the website. It's on Facebook. It's on our Twitter page. It's on our Instagram page. Follow us on any of those, because we always put our stuff up there.
You basically are the library for the county.
Oh, don't
know
tell that
that
to Nakusa.
Well,
or to
but
Marshfield.
they have libraries, and they're very significant libraries, and Rome has a library.
Mm-hmm.
But you would have the biggest resource, I would think, from all the others.
Well, don't tell that to Marshfield.
I've been in Marshfield. I know exactly.
So, but yeah, our service territory is Southwood County, and we're friends and allies of ARPA and Vesper, Pittsville, Nakusa, We're all on the same page. We're all doing the same thing. We have some additional resources in terms
Right.
of size, in terms of facility, in terms of staff. And that's great. And they do some very good things
Mm-hmm.
in their communities and real solid things. Wood County has great, solid libraries. They all do great jobs.
Yeah, and I think everyone's really kind of ready just to kind of get back to normal. And as we're getting back to normal, this is great, almost kind of good timing to do this construction while, people were basically kind of staying home and staying away from each other. Do you think like the timing of that kind of correlated pretty well?
Totally accidental, because if we'd correlated it really well, we'd be done now instead of being done in November. But the planning took time, the fundraising took time. We weren't, when we said we really want 3 additional rooms where people could sit and take an online class, we barely knew what Zoom was. And now it's like, well, of course you need those because everyone's living on Zoom. And so, yes, some of this, our planning fit well into our post-COVID future. And some of this, I wish we could have gotten this done 6 months earlier. But I'm happy to get this done, period, because board and staff have been working on this since 2018. So we've been living and breathing and planning and looking at how this would work for 3+ years now. And getting it to fruition is going to be just great. And then we can go back to the rest of our jobs.
Yeah, I think everyone's kind of ready for, to get full access again to the McMillan Library. And I think it's going to be amazing when it does reopen. I can't wait to go see it. And I think the public's going to be definitely really impressed based on your renderings. So thank you so much for coming in today,
Yes.
Andy, and for Carla as well. Thank you for coming. And I'm your host, Kevin. And thank you again for watching another episode of City Focus. Tune in next time, and we will have another episode with another city department. Thank you for watching, and have a great rest of your day.